watching TV3 New Day. Remember, today we will give you money just because we love you and because you always watch our show. All you have to do is dial *439#, and I ask you to always do it together with me. *439#, and you can win up to 2,000 Ghana cedis. Yesterday we gave away 2,000 Ghana cedis. Today we might give away same. We'll see. So dial now and cash out with us live on the show. Today also happens to be the day set aside to observe the final funeral rites of former First Lady, Mrs. Theresa Kufuor. And we're going to be live at the State House for the funeral, and we shall be crossing over intermittently to let you know how it's going and what's happening there. My colleague, Judith Brown, is on the grounds currently. Now, yesterday, the finance minister was on the floor of Parliament and he presented the 2024 budget statement and economic policy for the government, as is required for him to do at least 1 month to the end of the financial year, stating exactly what government revenue and expenditure plans are for the next year. They called this budget the Nkunim budget. Nkunim means victory. And the question is whether the budget will be victorious, or the budget itself, as has been read, is a victorious budget. Many interpretations have been given to it, and we heard Minority Leader Dr. Ato Forson talk about it yesterday with Alfred Okanse. Also, there's been a lot of commentary on social media about it. What do you think? Connect with us on social media at TV3 New Day, or the hashtag is TV3 New Day, but at TV3 Ghana on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We'd like to hear from you. This morning, the ladies are here to discuss all that we heard yesterday, some tax reliefs, some introduction of relief support for our brothers and sisters who have been so badly hit by the Akosombo Dam spillage, some exemptions on taxes on sanitary pads and the raw material for the production of these sanitary pads, some waivers on importation of electronic vehicles or electric vehicles, and so much more. Were your expectations met? Were you happy? Were you unhappy? For those who called for the absolute scrap of the COVID-19 levy, we didn't hear anything about that. How did you feel about that and all of that? Let us know via your comments on our social media platforms. But in-house, our ladies are here. We're so happy to be joined by Beatrice. It's been a while. I haven't seen you in a while. It's good to have you here. Beatrice is here with us. She's on the NDC legal team, looking absolutely dashing this morning.
Thank you.
You look very victorious.
Not the budget kind of.
You look very victorious. Yedin Kunim.
Yes, but not the budget kind of Yedin Kunim.
Not the budget kind of Yedin Kunim. But
future victory, yes.
Future victory.
Yes.
For 2024?
Yes.
I see. All right. Also with us this morning is Loretta Musasaka, a member of the NPP communications team. Hi, Loretta.
Hi. No.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
When do you Anna?
But every morning when we wake up, it's time for victory.
Loretta,
we sleep and get up, and
yes
it's no, but I mean, now every morning when you wake up with good health and you have life, it's a victory.
It's a victory. That's why you're in white today.
It's a victory. No, that's for white. I mean,
you like white?
I like white.
You like white?
Yes.
Okay. I also like white.
So why are you in green?
Oh, well, you know the bag. There was a famous bag yesterday on the floor of Parliament.
The green bag.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
It's
I'm
about $4,000. You should get it and match.
Oh, you know the price.
So you have one. On the floor of Parliament yesterday.
Oh, okay. It's nice.
It's $4,000.
It's nice. It's nice to combine.
So
you have one.
Checked it.
You have one.
No, I don't. We checked it.
You checked it from where?
It will go very nicely
from
with
the
my
brand's
jacket
website.
For the brand's website.
We will also
be
be joined this morning by Nanaya Achimpim Jantua, the General Secretary of the CPP. Ladies, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I trust you had a good night.
Yeah, I wasn't feeling so well, but I'm happy to be here.
But you're better this morning.
Yes.
Thank God. Thank God. You're welcome.
Thank
you. Yesterday we heard from the finance minister as he presented the budget statement and government policy, economic policy for the year 2024. So we're going to go into the budget statement, whether your expectations were met, if you were happy about some of the things that we had, some waivers, some introductions, and so on. But before we go into the conversation proper, I'd like us to take a look at some bits, some excerpts from the budget reading yesterday. Take a look.
And grants is projected at 176.4 billion Ghana cedis, 16.8% of GDP, as we move towards our 18% target. And this is underpinned by permanent revenue measures, largely tax revenue measures, amounting to 0.9% of GDP. Mr. Speaker, total expenditure is projected at 226.7 billion, 21.6% of GDP. This projection reflects a reduction of 6.1 percentage points of GDP in total expenditure commitment basis compared to the outturn in 2022. This large decrease comes from the combination of fiscal consolidation efforts of 4.9 percentage points of GDP, reflecting an adjustment in revenue by 1.1 percentage point and primary expenditure by 3.9 percentage points of GDP. The potential interest rate savings from the ongoing external debt operation will further bolster public finance sustainability. Mr. Speaker, based on the estimates for total revenue and grants and total expenditure, including arrears clearance, the overall budget balance will be financed in a fiscal deficit of 61.9 billion, equivalent to 5.9% of GDP. The corresponding primary balance is a deficit of 5.9 billion, equivalent to 0.6% of GDP. Mr. Speaker, further to the above, the following reliefs have been prioritized for implementation. To extend, Mr. Speaker, the zero rate of VAT on locally manufactured African prints for 2 more years. Mr. Speaker, to waive import duties on import of electric vehicles for public transportation for a period of 8 years. Mr. Speaker, to waive import duties on semi-knocked down and completely knocked down electric vehicles imported by registered EV assembly companies in Ghana for a period of 8 years. Mr. Speaker, to extend zero rate of VAT on locally assembled vehicles for 2 more years. Mr. Speaker, to zero rate VAT on locally produced sanitary pads. Mr. Speaker, to grant import duty waivers for raw materials for the local manufacture of sanitary pads. Mr. Speaker, to grant exemptions on the importation of agricultural machinery equipment and inputs and medical consumables, raw materials for the pharmaceuticals industry. Mr. Speaker, a VAT flat rate of 5% to replace the 15% standard VAT rate on all commercial properties will be introduced to simplify administration. To address the negative externalities of plastic waste and pollution, government will review and expand the environmental excise duty to cover plastic packaging and industrial and vehicle emissions. Mr. Speaker, the Stamp Duty Act 2005, Act 689, has not been reviewed since its enactment in 2005. To realign the rate with current economic realities, government in 2024 will review the rates and fees for stamp duties. The bands subject to ad valorem taxes will be expanded, while the specific rates will be reviewed.
All right, those were some excerpts from yesterday's budget reading on the floor of Parliament. Government revenue target, according to this budget, is 176.4 billion Ghana cedis. To spend 226.7 billion Ghana cedis. And the question is, how exactly do we plan to do this? Does this mean that we are going to be borrowing some more? Or what does it mean exactly? Are we cutting down expenditure to make for the rest of the monies, to make for the rest of the monies that we're planning on spending? How will government achieve this in 2024? Ladies, first of all, let's start with our general thoughts about the budget. We all had certain expectations. Were your expectations met? Are you happy? For Larato, you have called this a victory budget.
Yes.
Are you happy with it?
Those 8 reliefs for me, based on the angle we are moving as a country. You know, over the years, the services sector has been the mainstay for our economy, and it hasn't changed much. It still has some over 46%, a little over 46% of our economy. And we've all come to the realization that industrialization is the way to go. So when you have reliefs in the budget that is boosting that aspect, the industrialization aspect of the economy, for me, it's a good thing to be happy about. I mean, one of the things we've been discussing on end was sanitary pads. Sanitary pads. And there was a couple of years. We've had a lot of conversations on stakeholder engagements before putting these budget and economic policies together. And if you followed most of the stakeholders, AGI, most of the CSOs and all the key players within the economy were engaged before this budget statement was made. I mean, for taxes, when you talk to those who import the sanitary pads, for instance, they will tell you it's expensive producing them in country because you bring in the raw materials and there's a lot of taxes on it. So now the taxes on it have been waived. Those producing in country taxes have been waived. So that also brings some relief and respite to the conversations we have to do on a locally produced sanitary pad. And taxes have been removed for raw materials brought in to produce sanitary pads. Then you also go to the agric sector. Most of the agric inputs we use, the heavy machinery and all that, we still don't have the capacity in country to produce them. So you're bringing them in, you have tax waivers on it. It boosts agriculture because we are going into phase 2 of the, and what do we need?
Phase 2 of what?
Phase 2 of planting for food and jobs. All those things, the aggregators and all that, we need all these things to do it. If the waiver comes, then there's a boost. All those other monies that would have been used to cater for these taxes will be used in other areas. And that also fundamentally boosts the manufacturing sector because you need these inputs. As I said here, now, I'm sure probably, apart from my beads, from my hair to my toe, nothing is produced in this country. But you have garment companies that are doing huge. I just heard about a company producing large quantities of T-shirts in the middle of Makola. Is it Accra Central? I don't know whether it's Kantamanto or, but Central Business Area, producing huge, I've forgotten the name, D something, producing huge quantities of T-shirts for exports to other countries. But if I should take my headgear off now, probably be from Bangladesh, India, or China, you know. So when all these things, if we don't get, COVID showed us that when push comes to shove, you're on your own. Because if countries that we are importing things from are struggling to produce, are not getting the staff, are having high cost of production, you're bringing it in here, makes it extra expensive. But if we're able to boost the industrialization, boost the production sector of our industry, the manufacturing sector of our economy, to match up with the services industry. Then we don't have all these inflation issues and exchange rate issues and all that, because then you don't need so much foreign exchange to go out there and bring basics for citizens. You know, so for me, that concentration on industrialization and especially agric and also boosting industries. We have some 169 as read by the finance minister yesterday, factories under 1D, 1F going up. We always mention Ekunfi. Ekunfi now has access to some 500 shops in the US. They are currently going on with processes.
How
to
is Ekunfi doing? Really? It's been a while since I saw them on the market.
They are all over. They are all over.
There was a time when it was all over in traffic and so on, but nowadays...
But they still are.
They still are.
The route that I use, I see not less than, and even when I'm coming here in the mornings, when I use the Gold House Road, the Ridge side, there's always a truck there. Now they even have mini packs. Okay. It's not just, I think now they have 24, 36, then they have the 12 pack with a variety pack. I see them every day, at least 3 or 4 points on my route to work.
There was a time when it was all over the place. And you know, the hope was that it will become a regular feature on your dining table or your children's, lunch box and so on. As we do.
I buy a Ekunfi for my kids because obviously
it's locally made.
One is locally made. 2 is relatively cheaper than the other things we put in the snack packs for them. I've even been having a conversation with a friend of mine who produces plantain chips on all these locally produced snacks. Why don't you do smaller packs that we can put in the kids' small? Because if I buy a 10 cedis pack of plantain chips or coconut chips or sweet potato chips for the child, they can consume everything. But if I have like a quarter or half of that, I can put it in the snack pack with Ekunfi. But the other thing is Ekunfi is being produced. It's being exported now to over 500 shops. Are we buying it as citizens? That's also as our taste. It's a hard conversation to have, especially when you are coming from government. But this shirt that I'm wearing is obviously not produced in this country. If I buy it from the source, I used to buy it for 150, 160 cedis max. Now, if I buy it from the source, it's 234 because of exchange rate issues. But when I want to buy it in Accra, it's 550. What do you think I'll do? I'll definitely look for exchange forex and buy it from the source because I'm also looking at that. But if, as we boost industrialization, I can get this. Yeah, and I wear a lot of African print and locally woven clothes from Daboya. I wear a lot of that. They are not cheap. But if you're going to have taxes waived off locally produced fabrics, it also helps. At least if there are no taxes, it also reduces the cost that goes into buying these things. Here too, if you wear African print, it wasn't perceived as formal enough. It was the usual suits and tie and all those things we used to have. But now when you wear the African prints, it's formal. And that came from the introduction of the Friday wear during President Kufuor's time. So gradually we are coming. So for me, any budget that seeks to push the growth of our industries and manufacturing sector, I think it's a good budget to be again. And with the waivers that have come in, the waivers speak to what we are pushing. Because if we don't have a proper growth plan, we don't have it. Because over the years, it's been the same thing, but we need to change and look more in. We all keep saying, okay, we've been pushing our raw materials out in raw form. Value addition is the way to go. Because after what happened in 2020 till date, if you're not looking at internal production and internal capacity building and growth, value addition, it will get to a point we may even have the money, we won't have the basics to survive on.
All right, so we are happy about the reliefs. I think we can agree on that.
Yes.
But what do you say to people who say that some of the reliefs are really do not serve as it has been presented. For example, the wave of taxes on import of electric vehicles for 8 years. Now, the question is, how many people in Ghana use electric vehicles? Does this relief actually serve the people as it's been put there?
Could it also be that people are not buying it because at the end of the day, it's also cheaper? Because those low emission vehicles and all that also come at a relatively more expensive price by the usual fossil fuel use. And one, we've been talking about climate change for how long now? Come 2030, it's part of the goals that we are supposed to we are pushing green economy, green marketing and all that. So all these things add up to it. But now that you know that if I bring in an electric car, which is one, going to save save some of the issues we've been complaining about, climate change and all that, pollution with all these emissions. It also will lessen the burden on the use of fuels that we are used to. And increments and sometimes with that at least in the next.
So this waiver is supposed to encourage more people to import electronic cars. But it's supposed to be for public.
And don't forget, there's also a
public
waiver.
Transportation.
There's also a waiver of on locally assembled vehicles. Taxes on locally assembled. Okay, so it complements it.
Do we assemble electronic vehicles locally?
Not yet.
Not presently.
There are plans to do that. I think I saw communication to that, but I need to check on that. But there are plans underway to.
I saw a tweet earlier this morning about if the reason for the waiver on electronic vehicles is to encourage a lot of us to use electronic vehicles, so that in the long term we help reduce the pollution, emissions, and ultimately it's for the good of these conversations we've had constantly about climate change. If all of us decide to buy these electronic vehicles, do we have the capacity to be able to power these vehicles? Because they are charged. You need to plug them, and charge them with electricity. Do we have the capacity to be able to support all of these vehicles?
But no, it's not like the fact that the waiver has been given. It's like in the next 1 month or 2 months, you're going to, even when you ship a car from any part of the world, it takes a minimum of 6 weeks to get in country. You go through clearing processes and all that. So let's even use that 6 weeks or 8 weeks window to do that. But the market responds to demand for items. I don't think anybody will do an investment. I was having a conversation with a friend who runs a fuel station along the Spintex Road. And I think the lease for whoever is running it. People build these things and let it out to people to use for their businesses. And they are reconsidering putting up charging platforms and all that. If I'm not mistaken, the Govt fuel station along the Burma Camp Road, Trade Fair Road, I think there's something coming up there. They have a platform for something. I'm not too sure. I passed by yesterday, I saw it, but it's not far from my office. So I'll go and see what. But the market response, no businessman. And all that we are doing is also to push private sector growth.
So the market is asking for electronic vehicles.
The market is asking for it. Definitely, it will be done. How many fuel stations did we have before now? But now, every few kilometers, because there's the demand for it. Why are we now having issues with the quantum of oil and all that? Because there's high demand for it. Investors and business people respond to demands.
And there's a demand for electronic vehicles.
I mean, some years back, when you pick your phone, all you could do was make a call and send a text. At least when it started, mobile telephony started. But now, you pick your phone and you can do everything. Why? How did we come to that? Now we have large screen. Phones were this small at a point. Apart from that Motorola that came with that long antenna initially. But it got to a point, some phones were just small. But now you have a phone like this, you have a phone with double screens. Now people are producing phones that can give you triple view because someone wants to be watching a movie. And also the market responds to the demands of consumers. So if electric cars are going to be the new order, the market will respond to it. But how do you prepare for it? How do you encourage people for it? It's steps like these waivers and encouraging these things that starts it.
What do you say to people who say that there are real things that Ghanaians are calling for that we all know about? For example, the cancellation of the COVID-19 levy.
Yes.
All right, as compared to a certain demand for electronic vehicles, which we are not sure about.
Now, compatriots always make it, it's become like a taboo to talk about COVID-19 and Russia and Ukraine, but that's the reality. We are an economy that has signed to international trade agreement, signed up to a lot of treaties, virtually have most of our consumables, most of our basics come from outside this country. So definitely we'll have repercussions of COVID. We will. We'll suffer it.
How many countries are paying COVID-19 levy?
How many countries are paying COVID-19 level? I'm interested in Ghana. They may not necessarily be paying COVID-19 levy, but there will be other forms of recovery taxes from them. But I haven't gone into that analysis.
For how long will Ghanaians continue to pay the COVID-19 levy?
That one depends on how our economy and how we recover. Don't forget now that when we had COVID-19, and I always use this example, hitherto, will you find on an ordinary day hand sanitizer, nose mask in a normal home? But now they are everyday things that we add to our grocery list and all that. Sanitizers, nose mask and all those things.
Nose masks?
Oh, yes.
I don't remember the last time I saw one.
You don't remember the last time? I was in Tamale last week. We rented a car. The driver had one. My colleague I went with had one. I have them in my bag. Because now, because of the measures that have been, initially when it started, it beats everyone to it. But there's been a lot of work that goes on. There's been a lot of medications. How many people were taking vitamin C daily?
So we'll continue to pay the COVID-19 levy?
COVID-19, apart from leaving other things, also left us with some level of cost. We did free water. There was free electricity.
We got a lot of free money.
Exactly. How do we recover all these things?
We got a lot of free money.
We got a lot of free money.
To fight COVID-19.
To fight COVID-19.
Yes.
Where did the money go to?
Yes, where did the money go to?
Went into it. But apart from all those monies that came from the World Bank, and the World Bank has come out with all the conversations that go on. Nothing was misappropriated for the World Bank funds. If you have contrary information from what the World Bank gave us,
I think I would like to read some contrary information.
Please go ahead and do
for
it.
you. But
But the issues that COVID-19 left, you remember now GE gave loans small to SMEs. All those cost items.
So we are servicing those loans.
And it wasn't like something.
But no, I just want you to answer me this.
You have to.
For how long
will
Ghanaians continue to pay the COVID-19 levy?
I don't think even the Minister of Finance can
tell us
that within now and 6 months, there will be a mid-year review. If by the time we go through the international debt restriction, all the measures that have been put in place, there's a why. Who wants to tighten Ghanaians? We all feel the pinch. The place that I buy my food, you buy your food from there. We all
let's talk to Beatrice now.
And all those things.
Let's talk to Beatrice now.
All those things need to be done. In 6 months, he's going for a budget review and all those things. We've had some respite and all. Definitely. Why are these waivers coming in? Because you have to balance it.
Okay. Beatrice.
Now, I hope you give me 22 minutes to.
Yes, I will.
It's only fair.
All right.
Okay, so good morning to us all. Good morning to everybody watching us. I thought the budget that was delivered yesterday was uninspiring. But listening to Laura to this morning, I think that we are in a deeper mess than I imagined. You know, yesterday's budget, as we speak, we don't have the budget statement. The Ministries of Finance's website doesn't have it. Members of Parliament do not have the budget.
You mean the document?
Yes. What we have is a budget statement, and that is not a budget. And so I don't know what government is hiding and why this time around they have refused to give everybody the budget.
What's the difference between the budget and the budget
The
statement?
budget are the estimates and the expenditure that you see in figures. These are just statements, and some of them are even misleading. Yesterday when the minister read, he sought to leave out certain statements. So if you watch the video and if you read the document, he will take out words like review upward and end it as review deliberately. And I'll show you some of the videos because, one, this budget tells us that for 8 years in the life of our nation, we've stagnated. This budget tells us that for the many young unemployed people watching us this morning, in 2024, there is no hope for them. This budget tells us that our economy is collapsed and there is practically nothing government is going to do in the year 2024 to even embark on an economic recovery. It does not give us a solution to why we are bedridden. It does not give the 1.3 million Ghanaians whose monies and savings were arbitrarily taken away by way of haircut any solution. It does not give the cocoa farmer any hope because today we cannot even find syndicated loan to purchase our cocoa. And so for the many Ghanaians who yesterday watched the budget, also in consonance of the mess, because as we speak, there is nothing inspiring. And you know what the government did? You see, and sometimes I get surprised that Dr. Baumia is the head of the economic management team, because this budget is consistent with a certain deception to the government uses. You know what government does? Anytime it's coming to impose excess hardship, then it will deliberately introduce some small exemptions so that in the morning we'll be talking about the exemptions and leave out the real hardship that is facing us. You remember in 2022, when they wanted to bring the e-levy, they said, oh, we've scrapped the road tolls, so you're not going to pay for the road tolls and all that, but we are bringing e-levy. It's the same thing they are doing with the VAT exemption on sanitary pads. First of all, one is better than none. But let not the government mislead the people of Ghana. For all the tax exemptions they are seeking to give, they are seeking to just give away about 4.2 million cedis, but by their own 4.2 billion, by their own estimation. But the government is seeking to impose an additional 11 billion cedis taxes on the people. You know why the real budget is not out? So that we do not get to see where those taxes will be imposed by the time the minister rests. So this time, they are hiding it. So the government has told us that if you look at their revenues they got in 2022 or 2023, which is this year, and the one that they project to get in 2024, they estimate to get an additional 11 billion by way of taxes. And you know, they are going to get that tax from the increase in the stamp duty. Now, stamp duty affects any instrument, any legal instrument. It affects deed, it affects power of attorney, it affects anything that you draft, whether it's a contract, whatever it is. And so you can tell the excruciating hardship. Today, they've increased a flat rate on commercial property. So the businesses who are already striving struggling. The businesses who are already collapsing, they are having to pay taxes. And you see, when they say that, oh, we've exempted taxes, let me take you through the exemptions. First of all, the import waiver on electric vehicle that Lorato spoke copiously about, please, it is not for individuals. It is for registered assembly companies. So you and I cannot even import electric cars here and say that government has given us waivers. It is contained in paragraph 75 of their own budget. So let nobody create a deception that there is a market demand and when things change, that is not it. The VAT which they are excluding, all the companies that import the sanitary parts will pay the over 18 other import duties. What they have only excluded is the VAT component, which will really not change much. And now let me ask, for the locally ones, are they going to be paying the COVID levy? Because the promise of Dr. Baumia in the 2023 is to remove taxes on sanitary parts and not VAT. So let nobody create the impression that there is some relief. That reduction or that exemption will not bring the needed relief, will not bring the needed reduction for us. So maybe the government should stop playing with us and give us the full facts. Now, I've heard Laura to say that, oh, this budget, we are moving into the second phase of the planting for food and jobs. And I honestly think that sometimes the people managing this nation should take a break and drink water. They should sometimes not assume that the Ghanaian people are not sophisticated or we don't understand what is happening. Yesterday, with the planting for food and jobs, with the one district, one factory, with the one village, one dump, with all those slogans they keep telling us, do you know that they are telling us that industry contracted by 2.2%? And so with the planting for food and jobs you have, with everything that you claim to have, the economy is contracting. We are not experiencing growth. There is no hope for the future. This 2024 budget is telling you that we are just not doing a lot right. So the economy is not expanding. So where lies the solution? And you see, the government tries to throw in something as if it were good news. Let me tell you, and to the many people watching me, this government does not have credibility. The economic management team does not have credibility because it does not say or it does not do what it says. Now, let me remind you, in 2021, when the K2 South incident happened, you remember government didn't make allocations for the Keta Sea defense and other things. And the minority raised a lot of concerns. Ghanaians became angry. Then in December, the finance minister holds a press conference and says that I've made an extra allocation of 10 million cedis for the people of K2 South. Some 7 months down the line, in June 2022, the MP for K2 South, Honorable Ablajifa Gomashi, asked the Minister of Works and Housing when the monies will be released to them so that the people can, have restitution. The Minister of Works and Housing said the Finance Minister has not released the money. As I speak to you, that 10 million cedis which was budgeted for the people of the K2 South, that money has not been released. The people's lives are worse off. And then this government comes to tell us that, oh, we have allocated 220 million cedis for the Akosomo Dams village. What is the guarantee that they will release that money? Especially when they are telling us that our budget deficit for the year 2024 will be 50.1 billion. So already they have 50.1 billion that they intend to borrow. So where will they get the money? This government, despite all the hardship, despite what we are talking about, their rate of debt accumulation increased from 23.7% to 27.1%. And so nothing is getting better. Merely putting some snippet of things that appears to be giving relief does not solve it. As we speak, the government is even telling us that lending rate as at September this year was 32%. Which business can pay an interest rate of 32%? How much profits do they even make on the average for them to pay that interest rate? And so until they come back to tell us that they have done better than the economy they criticized, until they come back to tell us that they have provided very salient solutions to our hardship, they cannot be telling us that they've done something through this budget. This budget, I know the government has read a lot of empty budget, but I dare say that this is the emptiest of the budget. And that is why 2 days after they read the budget, I mean, yesterday to today, 2 days, they haven't been able to bring us the appropriations.
Shouldn't we wait, give the government some time to action some of the promises they have made? For example, the 220 million allocation to victims of the dam spillage. Shouldn't we wait to see what will be done before we start making statements like what is the guarantee?
So the same government action, to borrow your expression, actioned 10 million CDs for the people of Ketu South. 2 years down, they haven't done it. So if you can't find 10 million for the same people,
what reasons have been given?
No reasons have been given. The Minister of Works and Housing could not even tell. But now, more importantly, we must begin to ask for deeper accountability. Because where we are going, the government is not preferring a single solution. You remember in 2021, this government told every young person in this country that have hope. We are bringing you start. We are bringing 1 billion cedis of Batampa Care project, and direct the youth will have jobs, you start businesses. Today is what? 16th November. 3 years down the line, no young person has benefited from the You Start. So all they do is to, give title to the budget. Ajenkwan budget, nobody is saved. Ejumapa budget, nobody gets job. What budget? Today we are told, where is the victory? Where is the victory for the many young people who cannot find jobs today? In this budget, where is the victory? Where is the victory for the many teeming people who cannot afford 3 square meal because inflation is as high as 35% as of last month? Where is the victory for the many people who lost their jobs because of the banking sector cleanup? Where is the victory for the people whose salaries have been swallowed up because of inflation? Where is the victory in this budget? The victory is not for us, or is not to make our lives better. It is just slogan. And you do not do this. You see, the minister himself said that the reason they were raising the Stamp Duty Act is because of economic crisis. And so which economist, in the time when your people are suffering, will impose an 11 billion taxes? And then you say that, oh, you should be happy because much as I've imposed the 11 billion taxes on you, or I intend to do that, I also intend to provide you relief of 4.2. It does not add up. And for me, it tells me that the government has checked out. They don't have any solution. Because if this is the outcome of the meeting of the economic management team chaired by Baumia, then you can ask, and I keep asking that, what is the magic wand and what is the talisman that they have that in 2024 we could not find it? What new solutions are they bringing to the many people today? The government cannot find 4 million cedis for dialysis patients. So for the many people who are watching me with all those renal issues, it means that your faith is in your hands. It's just a matter of time. But look at their expenditure. And I'm saying that we are waiting for the appropriation. Because if you are increasing expenditure and you are targeting a budget deficit of about 50.1 billion, we want to see what you are using the money for, that you can't get money for kidney patients. But you could get money to pay for vaccines, which we already had in excess. Today, $80 million have been paid to people, and we can't get the vaccine.
You have 2 minutes more.
And did I hear someone say that we use the COVID money for COVID? Please, the MPPPC who said she had 100,000, was she COVID? The monies they were sharing, and look at the stinking Auditor General's report on the COVID-19 expenditure. I should be concluding and saying that this budget professes no hope. And you know what? In all these, do you know what they did?
What?
They have copied President John Mahama's 24-hour economy. Did you hear the finance minister say
How
that?
have they done that?
Oh, you didn't see. The finance minister says that in December, they are coming to now run a 9th economy. They have set up a task force with private sector and government partnership. Let me say that the 24-hour economy promised by President John Dramani Mahama is not the one that is rushed and put in budget because someone has promised same. It is a promise that is going to be a total reset of the economy. It's a promise that is going to transform many sectors of the economy. And do you know that it is the NDC, the political tradition that brought the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, the Ghana Free Zones Board. It's the NDC that encouraged foreign direct investment into this country. It is the same political tradition that is promising you that. And so just as we did with the GIPC, just as we did with the Free Zones Board, we are bringing a proper 24-hour economy calculated to give many young people who do not have hopes of job that this budget did not promise. We are bringing a 24-hour economy that gives tax exemptions, not to friends and families of the president. We are giving it to private institutions to expand. And so you can see that in the next 13 months ahead of us, this government does not have any solutions to our plight, and all we can do is to drink water and wait. Maybe otherwise there is no hope for you and I.
Wow. Now, Beatrice, you've spoken very passionately. One of the things that struck me, one of the things I wanted us to talk about, is how government intends to spend 226.7 billion Ghana cedis with a revenue target of 176.4 billion Ghana cedis.
Yes. Now, when it comes to putting a budget together, it's estimates of what you intend to raise and what you intend to spend.
Yes.
Don't also
but your estimate has a huge deficit.
Maybe if I finish.
Okay.
So you estimate to raise a certain amount and you estimate to spend a certain amount. It could be more, it could be less in each state. Those are estimates, right? But don't also forget that your expenditure doesn't only include the consumables, the infrastructure, all that we are doing. It also includes your interest payments for loans, past, present, whatever. All those things come in. Don't also forget that we're also going in. We've completed the domestic debt restructuring.
You completed it?
Yes, the domestic. But yesterday, the finance minister was clear on that. He mentioned it. And then domestic. What we are looking at now is the international one, which we've put on hold for a long time. And when you are putting your budget together, you factor all these things. I mean, there have been years continuously that the projection of revenue has gone above. You hear GRA all the time. So when it comes to these things, it's not like cast in stone about figures that are put. And also don't also get the budget also goes under reviews. Could be more, it
yes,
could be
but
less.
If you give us these figures,
we can
even
have
though
when
they are
we start,
estimates,
when
even though they are estimates,
are
you are telling us that you intend to spend 226.7 million.
Yes.
And you also
on
intend
your various aspects.
Yes, but
yes.
That is what you intend to do.
Yes.
So even though it's an estimate and it's not cast in stone, that is your intention.
But you've also put
so if you intend to spend 226.7 million,
yes,
and you intend to raise 176.4 billion.
So that's what I'm telling you.
Where's the difference going to come from?
The deficit. I mean, with what negotiations that we are having with the IMF? No, our bilateral trade partners, the Paris Club. You know, that condition comes in. It's a major part of our international debt restructuring and all that. But once the details come out, we can have a more informed decisions. These are figures that are, but they are.
Yes, but this was the budget statement.
That's what I'm saying. The budget
which is supposed to have the details of how exactly
the budget
we
statement
intend.
doesn't have the nitty-gritties. Once the document comes out, the appendices details item by item what goes into every figure.
Appendices of the budget will tell us how we would arrive at the 226.7
all those details.
million.
We can't have a discussion in a vacuum. Just raising that, but that's what I'm trying to explain to you, that you project. It's not absolute. You project it. It could be less, it could be more, and all that. Well, now, until we get the details. Well, let me go into some of the issues that Beatrice raised. Quite interesting. I would have been quite surprised if we had left this set and Beatrice hadn't mentioned Dr. Baumia's name. But you see, come 2024...
He's the head of the Economic Management Committee.
We're
talking about the budget.
Let me make my point.
I'm sure.
In 2020, why is she here talking plenty?
Yes,
because
Beatrice, you can't stop while she's
assumed
she accorded you all that courtesy, so you accord her saying.
It's assumed our compatriots in the NDC are the alternative to current government.
And they not.
Come 2024, well, I think they are an empty alternative. So, I mean, I don't see them as an alternative, but that's my opinion. Come 2024, the NDC would have done 16 years. The MPP would have been finishing 16 years of being in government, at least, if for nothing at all. Dr. Baumia, who is now the flag bearer of the MPP, was found worthy enough as a vice president to be made head of economic management team. What about their candidates? We are going to be comparing records. You see, this aspect of sitting down and throwing in. But I don't expect Beatrice and other compatriots to see any hope or inspiration in what the budget said for now, because they don't have, they've never given anybody, inspired anybody.
Do you want to address some of the specific things she spoke about? For instance,
I'm going specifically,
you have specifics.
I'm going specifically to one. She mentioned the registered assembly plants. Yes. And all that, because you're bringing in knockdown or semi-knockdown electric vehicles, and just as we did with Toyotas, VWs, and all that, they assemble for who use the normal fossil fuels that we use. Are the assembling plants going to be keeping the cars in their showrooms? They're going to assemble them for Ghanaians to buy. That's another form of creation of jobs. But you see, they don't know how to do it, so they don't understand some of these things. In one breath, government should give us in details. In another breath, you are saying what government is saying is wrong. So if you don't have details, what are you discussing? I don't think the finance minister went with an empty pieces of paper or empty pages to go and stand in government. He spoke. He gave details. There were reliefs. There were plans. Things that will have to be done. So if they don't understand, we are sorry. But they need to stop the propaganda. The country, after all that we've been through, all the challenges we've seen, we need to build this country together. She spoke about things that they have done. In every economy, you balance. That is why you bring in policies that boost industries, that boost manufacturing, and you bring in social interventions to cushion the less privileged. They've never brought in, as a socially inclined party,
They are not in government now.
But they've run this country for 16 years. We are now gearing up to 16 years. It's not like they are coming out. It's like, you see, the NDC is not coming out of the blue like any party.
Like the third force.
A third force that you think they've never handled government before. They have a flag bearer who has been MP through to vice president to president. So they can't be making that. I was just waiting for her to even prefer one alternative to the solutions we have put across.
Solutions.
Cancel.
It was all about.
Cancel.
It was all about.
She offered one solution.
It was all about
remove taxes on sanitary pads instead of just VAT and leave the other taxes on sanitary pads. Because VAT, what's the percentage of VAT as of today?
You see, consistency.
So she preferred one solution to you.
Consistency when it comes to building an economy is very key. In one breath, slogans. In another breath, that's where we are bringing 24-hour economy. Let's get serious.
Which is also a slogan.
We are talking to what is 24-hour economy. If I come and sit here and say 24-hour economy, do you understand?
Well, they say you are trying to copy the 24-hour economy.
But we came with life-changing policies. They may have come with challenges, no doubt. But when you talk about free senior high school,
let's focus on the budget.
The free SHS was in the budget.
Sloganeering and so on is outside the budget.
Before they left NHIS, what was the state of the scheme? But now other things like childhood cancer has been added to the scheme. Now there are discussions on how to put dialysis on the thing. You get it? So you think through problems and prefer solutions. You don't sit and say it's empty. Then you are equally empty. Because it takes one to know the other. It takes an empty person to know what is empty. We are not empty. We are full of solutions. We face challenges. We had to take some very tough decisions that have had very direct consequences on Ghanaians. But that doesn't mean that we won't push it. We've moved from an inflation rate of 58 from February to 35. That should show you something. It may not be the best.
But who took us to 58 in February?
Who took us to 58 in February? Government in power was money. But don't also forget, apart from our internal vulnerabilities that they are equally aware of, there were serious external shocks. But from 2017 till 2019, the economy was growing at an average of 6%. Even in the heat of it, when other huge economies were contracting, due to the agriculture and manufacturing sector, we grew by some 0.5%. That is what we thought. You carry the people along. You listen to the people and carry them along. That is why there was proper stakeholder engagement ahead of this presentation of the budget. It may not be all gloom, but it's not doom. It's not all doom. But when you have an alternative that seeks to replace the current government, all they talk about is doom, no alternatives, no nothing. I mean, and all you want to do is single out an individual. And I think that their phobia for His Excellency, the Vice President, is quite intriguing. He must really have something that they are scared of. But what can you say? He's Vice President. We are going to assess him on his contribution as a Vice President. Can they say same for their Vice President, who was not even worthy enough to be made
our Vice President is not just Vice President, it's also head of the Economic Planning Committee.
That is what I'm saying.
So when our economic is in difficult times, definitely he'll be mentioned.
Come 2024.
Because remember the promises he made ahead of
Don't also forget that this budget
election.
is also an election year budget. And we need to be as honest as possible. And that is what we could have decided, okay, don't bring out the deficits because questions were, but we've put everything out in clear print. Okay. You get it? That is our honor because there's a tendency of overspending in budget. Why was the Fiscal Responsibility Act passed under the regime of Danado Danko Akufo-Addo? Because we need to do those things. But when it comes to records, we need to move away from all these because at the end of the day, you, Beatrice, and I are relatively young. Whatever decisions anybody takes going forward affects you, affects our children. So all these empty talks, propaganda talk, we are going to compare records. Dr. Bawumia is Vice President. We are going to compare his record to their flag bearer when he was Vice President. Let's see. At least he is head of economic management team. Was he worthy enough to be that? No. Let's deal with the issues. Look at, when you talk about things that you want to use together, look at the Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum. Tourism has been one of the key areas we've pushed to build employment and all that. Now, Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum, their revenue has moved from some 30,000 cedis to 1 million a month. That is what we call change. It may not necessarily reflect in you and I, our pockets, but it puts the economy, because someone will get a job, someone will get paid. The number of people the person takes care of, also their quality of life. That is what we talk about when we talk about boosting the economy.
So we are boosting the economy.
When reliefs are given to boost the manufacturing and build up industrialization, to match up with services industry, which is what is the key driver of our economy now, and obviously not helping us, because you can't keep taking your raw materials out and just rendering consultancy.
Listening to you is one thing.
Yes.
You know, listening to you is one thing. But when you talk to the regular Ghanaian on the streets of Accra, the hardship that Ghanaians are currently facing, from unemployment to high tariffs to just a general difficulty in the system. Basically, everything is difficult in Ghana now. I mean, and that's the honest truth. If you speak to the regular Ghanaian, things are tough. Listening to you now, talking about boosting the economy, talking about improving, all of the things you've said are all nice to hear. But let's break it down, okay? Let's come to the regular Ghanaian. Ask anyone on the streets of Accra, how are things? And the answer you most likely hear is that things are hard. So how do we marry all of these things that you're saying, which sounds very nice to hear, and the actual reality on the ground?
Now, as I sit here, the other challenge we also keep making, and the other mistake we keep making, is that we assume people like me are not a regular Ghanaian. I'm a regular Ghanaian.
With all due respect.
I live in Ghana.
With all due respect.
I live in Ghana.
With all due respect.
Yes, now.
You are not the average Ghanaian.
Are you the average Ghanaian?
I'm probably not.
Yes, exactly. Probably not.
Yes, but I'm not talking about you and I, Lorato.
Listen, when I talk, I told you, the policies have come out. They've come with challenges. I mean, if I go and tell anyone on the street, or if I go to Mpaha or Salaga or Damango or Yendi, and I go and tell the person that, oh, we've reduced inflation. Inflation has reduced. I mean, before we suffered all these external shocks, inflation was single digits. But now, because of the external shocks, it went to 58%. Gradually, we are putting measures in place to assuage that. And now inflation. Obviously, I'll be talking nonsense to the person. Excuse my language. But when I go into that area, and their health infrastructure has gotten a boost, agriculture has gotten a boost, I go and tell the farmer in there that now they've been released on a tractor. It won't be as expensive as it will be. All those things build into the cost. Because when he's going to rent, let's say he doesn't have the muscle, financial muscle, because most people, most farmers are peasant, doesn't have the muscle, he will have to go and rent a tractor for maybe an hour or by day. All these reliefs that are beginning will also
go a long way to make his life better.
That is it.
All right, let's talk to Beatrice.
The IMF, the rating agencies come.
Talk to me.
They are looking at
Beatrice, you have 4 minutes.
Oh, but you give her 6 minutes.
Beatrice, you have 4 minutes.
Okay, so I was laughing. I don't know whether we are discussing budgets or we are discussing anything. But Lorato said that in 2024, we would discuss and match the records of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and Bawumia. Please, we don't have to wait for 2024. We can do it now. And sometimes I feel genuinely the NPP communicators want to subject Bawumia to ridicule, because any communications person should never call for this debate. You know, policy rate under President Mahama as vice president was 12.5%. Today, the policy rate is over 30%. That is the first record. Inflation was single digits for 33 months, 8.6%, with John Mahama as vice president. Today, inflation is above 35%. At a point, it was 54%. That is a record. Public debt, as with John Mahama as vice president, was 17.5 billion. Today, it is 800 billion. Import value was 14.7 billion. Today, we are 1.1 billion. Cedi depreciation, 3%. The cedi was 2 cedis to $1. Today, it is 13.5%. So we will not wait for 2024 to compare the records. We will compare it this morning. She should tell me. Fuel
are you going to give us time?
1 cedi 16 pesos. You had the opportunity to compare the record. You were waiting for 2024. Allow me to compare it now. Today, fuel is 13.8%. You cannot compare. Under President Mahama, our credit rating was B. Today, we are in a baller status. And you are saying we should compare what? You want to subject Dr. Bawumia to ridicule this morning. I didn't even want to go hard on him. The man knows next to nothing about public administration and economic management. Because if you have economic knowledge and you listen to him in 2016, you could see that he was only bragging. He was not preferring
the realities of the world
on
that
any economic solutions.
This administration has had to deal with. It's quite different from what John Mahama had to deal with.
Let me tell you.
From COVID-19 to the wars to the general economic hardship in the world.
You see,
it's quite different.
I can understand you are being the devil's advocate, which is fine.
I'm asking questions.
Yes, which is fine. Let me tell you, every government from 1957 in Nkrumah has had external shock. And that argument is even very late. Oh, allow me to make a point. Laura, your shirt is nice. Keep quiet. If you didn't say anything, allow me to say something. Please.
You have 1.5 minutes.
No. Please, every government has had an external shock. This external shock is a lie because before COVID, our currency had depreciated by 12.9%. Before COVID, our debt to GDP was 76%. We were heading to 80%. So I'm telling you that anybody who has listened to Dr. Bawumia, any economist, anybody who has a basic appreciation of economics will know that Bawumia was bragging in 2016. Today, you have been given the head of the economic management team. Compare your records, it's zilch. Your budget contains nothing, no relief, no respite, no reset, nothing to give us hope. And you are saying what? We should wait for 2024. We will compare it now.
All right, that's your time.
Let me conclude. And sometimes you ask, what is the alternative? The alternative is the party that left behind economic buffers for you that you came to deplete. The moment we had COVID, you have depleted every economic buffer.
You know the economy,
the sinking fund, the stabilization fund, the Ghana infrastructure, the Exim Bank
left
we built.
An economy that was in comatose.
You have concluded, actually. That's your time. Actually, that's your time. She started talking after your time.
Don't go there.
That's your time. That's your time. Thank you.
I am saying that.
Thank you, Lorato. Thank you so much.
When you are not making
that's all time will allow us. That's all time will allow us. We've been talking about a review of the 2024 budget, which was presented on the floor of Parliament yesterday. What's good and what's not. We have tried to address some of the things that were said. I think we actually need to come back and continue this conversation probably tomorrow, still on the budget statement. And I see a lot of your messages coming in on Facebook especially, but I'm unable to read them right now. But let's keep the conversation going. I've been talking to Lorato Musa Saka. She's a member of the National Communications team of the NPP, and also Beatrice Annan, a member of the legal team of the NDC. You're watching TV3 New Day. We still have a very interesting conversation with DSL still to come. Stay tuned.